Hello, this is the TradeSite US Stocks and Futures Market Preview for the week beginning Monday, April 13th, ending Friday the 17th, 2020. This is options expiration week for April. It is not a triple expiration week, which means we will look to Wednesday or maybe Thursday for the options unraveling move if there is one. Friday is expiration. You would typically expect that to be boring, but right now I wouldn't assume anything is going to be boring. That's just not the market we are in. What I do know is that Monday is a holiday for the rest of the entire world. It's the day after Easter. We take off Good Friday, but the rest of the world takes off the Monday after. So typically, it's typically it would be a dead day on Monday, and we were closed on Friday. However, what's going on now, we might actually see some action on Monday, obviously, and if the other players don't step up and play, it could be a thin market with issues. As I record this, the ES is down 40 points and the NQs are down 117. So we're looking at a big gap down in the markets. Whether or not that is what we end up with in the morning, obviously anything can happen. Here's a look at the ES front month futures contract. This is the daily chart of the broad market in futures form. Again, the current candle is the down candle that we're in, but we obviously were up last week. It was a bounce week, so we've got a bottom formed in theory. Whether we go back and retest or break those lows and form a proper double bottom remains to be seen. I think if you look at a lot of the economic projections as to what this means for the economy, it would be really hard to understand how the market doesn't go back and retest the lows ultimately. Maybe it does it without it being in a panic because it's not so soon. If you calm down for a month or two and then you head over and roll down, it may not seem as dramatic as if you just kept going lower right now. But it's hard to see how we come back from some of this too quickly. And just because the Fed has agreed to pump a lot of liquidity in and to buy back stuff, it doesn't mean they're going to buy back stocks and hold everybody's investments in place. Crude oil up a buck 12 to 23.88. Gold down $19.90 to 17.33, but it was at highs on Friday. The S&P cash on Friday gained 39.84, so gap up day and closed higher again. Nasdaq 100 was up only 8.99, which is a blip on the Nasdaq. The SOX was down 38.16. That's part of what held the Nasdaq back. The biotech's up 31.44 on the session. That's new highs for the last month or two on the biotechs. Hey, makes sense, right? The biotechs are scrambling to try to find a fix for this current COVID crisis. The Russell up 55 points. One of its better weeks in a while. The Russell's been taking the brunt of the problem here, but it did come back up. The VIX closed down at 168 at 41.67. This is the lowest close on the VIX since early March, since the crisis started. So again, when the VIX gets under 40, that's where things get a little more mellow. Is that going to happen now? Are we rolling over again? The market's hard to say. The trend closes at 1.64. Nasdaq volume 4.1 billion shares. So, again, a day where there was some sectors down and it was pretty flat. We sold off from the open. It's a bigger volume day finally, based on compared to what we've been seeing. Advanced decline ratio on the Nasdaq was up 17.95, so way more stocks up than down. On the New York plus 21.16, way more stocks up than down. Google loses 43 cents, which is a sneeze. Doesn't even count. Apple up a buck 92. Netflix down 40 cents, also a blip. Doesn't even matter. This is really remarkable. Google down 43 cents, Apple down Netflix. I'm sorry, Netflix down 40 cents, and Amazon down 24 cents. So these huge high-priced tech stocks basically down less than a buck each. That's pretty rare for that to happen. Tesla up $24.16 back to 573. Facebook gains 91 cents, another blip there. Goldman Sachs was a big one, up $7.30. TLT, the 20-year bond ETF, up 30 cents, and the Dow was up 285. And we look at the 10-minute candles on the ES for the week. Here's what we get. So you can see all the way back to the prior week. Now remember, this was a short week, so that's Friday on the far left now. Big gap up Monday and then went higher. Big gap up Tuesday. So if you go from Friday's close to Tuesday's open, you're talking about from 24.80 up to 27.20. So that's a 240 point gain on the ES. Huge amounts of that were the two gaps. And then we got a 13 sell signal and pulled back a bit. Closed at the lows of the day, almost filling the gap on Tuesday. Wednesday was a fairly flat opening. We kind of wiggled around, closed higher, closed at what would have been, and we were still inside of Tuesday's range, but closed at what would have been the high of the session of the week so far. And then Thursday gap up and kind of just dead flat. And Friday everybody's gone, and that's what happens. So that's what the week looked like. In terms of economic data coming out, it's not a massive week for stuff. Monday, so here's the deal. Again, with all the European economies closed, banks are closed and everything, markets are closed, should be a lighter session, but there's no economic data on Monday. Tuesday's the import prices. Wednesday is the big one. Retail sales, Empire State Manufacturing Index an hour before the bell. Capacity utilization and industrial production at 9:15 a.m. Eastern Time. Business inventories at 10. NAHB Housing Market Index at 10. Crude oil inventories at 10:30. The Beige Book at 2, and the Tick long-term purchases at 4 on Wednesday. Thursday, the weekly initial and continuing jobless claims numbers, not pretty any week right now. Building permits and housing starts, along with Philly Fed Manufacturing Index, that's all at 8:30. Natty Gas at 10:30. And Friday, CB Leading Index and the IMF meetings begin. And we have, again, expiration on Friday. So it should be interesting. It should be a dead day Monday with the rest of the world closed. Wednesday or Thursday could be options unravel. Friday, options expiration. But obviously, the driving news right now is the coronavirus and everything that's going on, the lockdowns, and what does this mean as we try to get our head around it globally. Charts, as usual, brought to you by eSignal. If you've not yet taken the trial of our services, feel free to do so. We will help you out for a couple weeks. Have a great trading week.